Hey, how's it going, everybody? If you're new here, welcome in, and if you've been here before, smash the like button on the way in. I'm Rollshambo, the connoisseur and collector of all things sharp and shiny, and today we've got two brand new pieces of sharp and shiny from our friends over at Kansept. And throughout the course of the video, if you decide that you want to pick up either one of these, they are both currently available, and you can find them using my affiliate links down in the description, but that is 100% up to you. So you might be wondering, what's in the boxes? Starting off with this guy, this is the Kansept Cru, and just like normal, if you're not a fan of this particular color style, or maybe you don't like the Damascus blade, they do have different options that include different inlays, and then of course a different blade steel. It is 8.2 inches overall, so it comes in as a full-size knife. The blade steel itself is Kansept's Damascus steel, and they do consider this to be a Wharncliffe style blade, although I would probably say it's closer to a sheep's foot. Feel free to debate that in the comment section. The handle scales are nicely contoured and blasted titanium scales with Arctic Storm fat carbon fiber inlays. We have T8 hardware all the way around, a light blue anodized titanium backspacer, a contoured 3D milled titanium pocket clip, and of course it is a frame lock. The frame lock itself is going to be locking up somewhere in the realm of about 30, we'll call it 30%, why not? And it is of course running on ceramic bearings. From the offset, you might be looking at this saying, is that just a flipper only? No, check this out. It actually has two deployment options. It's got a top flipper, and I am going to refer to that as a top flipper. And then of course it has the rear flipper. This is a design from Reccomended Knives. It's Italian, I believe. It's either Viella or Villela. Either way, I know I butchered that, so apologies in advance. Ergos on this bad boy feel really good thanks to the contoured titanium handle scales as well as the contoured pocket clip, and there's a lot to love on this knife. The action is good, the deployment options are rather good, and it is nice the fact that we have a discrete top flipper here. It does take a little bit of a wrist flick to use that top flipper, and you do have to be mindful not to let your index finger get in the way with that other flipper right there, because if you do, it will actually block the top flipper all around. But with a little bit of practice, it is no muss, no fuss. As a full-size knife, the balance on this is remarkably really good and easy to index, easy to manipulate. Feels good in a reverse grip as well, although honestly with this type of blade shape, a reverse grip is kind of useless, but you can get a regular full 4-finger grip on this. Absolutely no problem, with plenty of real estate to spare. I'm a huge fan of the fact that they did multiple inlays on both sides. It looks really good. And you know, the thing about fat carbon fiber is, especially on contoured scales, it will never look as good in pictures as it does in person, because you get kind of that shift, that sheen, that shine that doesn't really pop up in photos, you know, but when you move it, you get to see that, and it's really enjoyable and pleasing to the eye. Also, I'm a fan of the way that Damascus blades look, because they always look a little bit different. It's all based on the different layers. How many layers of steel? What is the different types of steel that they used in those layers? And honestly, it looks really good. Some companies do a mirror polish on their Damascus. Kansept, of course, did not. Now, that doesn't mean that I'm the biggest fan of everything about this knife. In fact, there are two nitpicks that I have. And believe it or not, I'm actually not going to talk about the fact that we don't have a single-sided captive pivot. I am going to talk about the fact that we have a gorgeous Damascus blade here, and yet we have logos on both sides. I don't necessarily like the idea of billboarding over Damascus patterns, because it interrupts the natural flow and beauty of the blade. I would actually much rather have those logos somewhere else, like even on the spine of the blade right here. Yeah, that would have been nice. And while we're looking at the spine of the blade, notice that there is in fact no jimping, which for a utility style blade shape like this I actually would really like to have some jimping there. But all nitpicks aside, the Cru has a lot going for it. You might be wondering, well, what does it cost? It's $189. I'm gonna let that marinate for a second. $189 gets you contoured titanium with fat carbon fiber inlay Damascus blade, really good action, good access to the lock bar, a reversed lock bar relief cutout. That's really nice. They did a fantastic job on this, and this has got to be one of the cleanest designs that I've felt from Kansept in recent history. I dare say that if we get more colorful carbon fiber options, who knows, maybe even some camo carbon fiber options, they're going to be doing some great things here in 2025. And the next knife up is a big boy. This is the Kansept Superhawk, designed by Warhawk Knives. This is a big knife. This is serious business, the Superhawk, and you might recognize the designer. The designer is the same person who designed the Leviathan, and the Leviathan is a massive recurve cleaver style blade. It was out there, but a lot of people really loved that. And now we've got another design from Warhawk Knives. This is the Superhawk, and the Superhawk is more than just a full-size knife. This is a 9-inch knife with a 3.9-inch blade. That means business. You can get this in actually 2 different blade shapes. Believe it or not, Kansept does list this as a Wharncliffe. I'm going to say this right now, that has got to be a mistake, because neither this nor the other version, which looks like a recurve compound ground blade, neither of them look like Wharncliffe. So we're going to just go ahead and stack that up as an error. I would say that this is easily either a modified sheep's foot or potentially even a modified spear point. Just like with the other knife, however, this is a 3D contoured titanium handle scaled knife. This one has S35 VN blade steel, gold accents, and if you're looking at this handle scale finish, that's not in fact silver paint or anything. This is titanium with an orange peel finish, and that orange peel finish is really good at resisting scratches, and I happen to think that it looks quite good. The pocket clip is also 3D milled titanium, and it's also a frame lock. The frame lock on this is pretty aggressive. I'm going to say that that is about 35%. No wiggle, no jiggle, and it is 100% drop shut because that blade is thick. That's a big boy. Deployment options come in 2 flavors. You can either use this flipper tab or of course the thumb studs. Now I do think that the thumb studs will allow for a quicker, snappier action. They just work much better than the flipper tab, but the flipper tab also works really well, and it also serves as a finger guard. So if you are jabbing into something, it's going to keep your finger from sliding up onto the edge of the blade. The blade is black washed, but we've got a nice theme here. We've got the orange peel titanium handle scales with the black wash blade with the gold accents. It's got a black backspacer, black titanium 3D milled pocket clip, and this guy is $250, but it is a big knife, and they do of course have this in different finishes. The weight on this is not light. This is 6.8 ounces, almost 7 ounces, but considering that we've got all of this titanium, including titanium hardware, and this big old beefy overbuilt blade that is just screaming, you know, bust it open. That's not a knife. This is a knife. This is going to be one of those knives that is not for the faint of heart. If you're worried about how much weight the knife adds to your carry, this is probably not going to be for you. But if you like big, beefy, overbuilt knives, and that happens to be the way the market is trending recently, this is aggressive. This is a knife that means business, and it's not going to be one that leaves you wanting for more if the task at hand turns out to be a large job. We do have T8 pivot, T8 body screws, and of course ceramic bearings. Action is smooth, but with any coated blade, there will be a slight break-in period. If you want some help breaking that in a little bit easier, just put a little bit of pressure on the lock bar and work the blade back and forth, probably 30 or 40 or 50 times. Apply a tiny dot of lubricant to that ball bearing, and what you'll notice is that the action becomes very smooth very quickly. Now you might be wondering, well, how good of a cutter is something like the Superhawk? I actually haven't cut anything with it. I figured we'd do that on camera. So I actually have a piece of cardboard here. Got this off of an Amazon box. No muss, no fuss. Let's go ahead and see how she performs. Well, that was easy. Yeah, no, that's actually really good. What if I do it slowly? Yeah. This is a phenomenal cutter. Kansept did a really good job on that factory edge. And it doesn't matter what way you slice it, it's just going to get the job done really well, even through tape, even through a sticky shipping label. Piercing, no problem either. That's a really good cutter. So what it boils down to for the Superhawk is that if you're somebody that is really looking for a full-size knife, or if you're someone that appreciates overbuilt blades and lots of titanium, this is definitely going to speak to you. I do want to mention that the fuller that you see here is a non-functional fuller. You can kind of get at it if you really dig for it, but digging for it isn't necessarily comfortable. I'm going to say that that fuller is primarily meant for aesthetics only, which honestly is a little bit of a shame. I would have liked to have seen that maybe just rise up just a little bit towards the top and then go the length of the blade. I think that that would have looked rather cool, and it would have made it functional and added just one more piece to the puzzle. As you can see, yes, you can flick it, but it's not necessarily easy to do, and digging for it isn't necessarily super comfortable. This is definitely a knife that will get the job done, and if you're wanting bigger steel in the pocket, yeah, that one's going to be for you. Or do you want something a little more gentlemanly, something that is a little more design aesthetic, something that you could take to a dinner party, but also has a nice utility style blade shape, as well as all of the class of Damascus? If that's you, then the Kansept Cru might in fact be for you, and you could also, you know, spend a little bit less money on it, $190 less in fact. Which one? Let me know in the comment section down below, guys. If you enjoyed the video and you haven't done so yet, please consider hitting that subscribe button, which is about to pop up in the corner. But of course, if you just want to watch some more awesome knife and EDC content, feel free to click on one of the videos that pops up next.